Hello guys, welcome to a new video, and if you haven't subscribed to my channel, go ahead and subscribe to my channel so you can get more videos like this. And what I want to do in this video is actually go through these CCNA topics for the LAN switching technologies. So I want to configure, verify, and troubleshoot some VLANs, normal extended range spanning through multiple switches. I also want to configure VDP and add and remove VLANs on a trunk. I also want to configure rapid PVST. Alright, so rapid per VLAN spanning tree. I want to do some root bridge selection. I also want to, or I'm going to, configure and verify portfast and bpduGuard. Also, I'm going to configure a LACP ether channel between two switches and to N, and that will be the last one that I'm going to do for the LAN switching technologies. I'm not going to have DHCP snooping yet because I'm not going to add a DHCP server, even though I could do it. So I'm going to see how I'm going to implement it here. Okay, so let's go ahead and configure this. Let's go to my packet tracer. So I'm going to configure this network right here. So you can see I have not cabled anything in, and I'm going to be working mostly with switches because we are going to talk about LAN switching technologies. Okay, so first of all, let's go ahead to switch 2, and in switch 2, let's go ahead and enable it. Config terminal, let's give it a host name, which is switch 2. So the first technology, let's see what's going to be the first technology that we're going to talk about. Let's configure some access ports. Okay, some access ports. So I'm not going to have any access port over here. I'm going to have them over here, right? So since I'm going to have one over here, let me go ahead and add this. So 1 through 4 and 1 through 4 over here. So let's go ahead and start this. Let's go to switch 1 and let's configure some access ports on this switch. Config T. Even though first of all I should do, let me see how I'm going to do this, because there's a lot of switching that they go hand with hand. So if we configure, let's configure the VDP first. Yeah, let's go ahead and do that first. Sorry for that. So I want this to be the VDP server. So this one's going to be the VDP server, and the default VDP mode for the switches, they all come as a server. So if I go ahead and configure this as a server, it's going to tell me that the device is already a VDP server. Okay, so what I want to do is do a VDP domain, and we're going to pull it on VDP. The domain is going to be Cisco. Alright, so we have to go to switch 3, configure this, that number 3 and number 1 as clients. Let's go ahead and do that. Let's give it a host name first. Switch 3, VDP mode client. And when you configure this, the VDP as a client, the client is going to be receiving any VLANs from the VDP server. So they're not able to send VLANs to any switches. Whenever you create one here, it won't send it to the other ones, but it will receive it from the VDP server. But they all need to be on the same domain as the VDP server, otherwise it won't get anything. Okay, and the VDP server which is switch 2, is the one that sends all the VDP or the VLANs created on this switch. So let's go VDP mode client, VDP domain Cisco. So this is all configured here. Let's go ahead and give it a host name of switch 1. Okay, and now what I want to do is on interface fast Ethernet 5, which is this one right here, I want to create this a switch port mode trunk, because it needs to be trunking, and then I'm going to do a switch port trunk allow, and I want to allow VLAN 20. Oops, I forgot to put VLAN 20. Alright, so that's good. Let's go over here and do interface fast Ethernet 06, which is this one right here. And I wanted to actually create this as a trunk as well, and I want to add trunk allow VLAN 10. Okay, so this interface right here, 06, is going to allow only VLAN 10 through this link, and this link is going to allow VLAN 20. Okay, so now what I need to do, go to this VDP server and do interface 0/6 switch port mode, make it a trunk as well. Right after you make it a trunk, we're going to do a switch port trunk allow VLAN. The VLAN that comes to here is VLAN 10. Now let's go to fast Ethernet 5, make it a trunk, and allow VLAN 20. Alright, so this is good right here. So what we could do next, let me see, what we could do next is actually configure rapid per VLAN spanning tree protocol, right? Or let's do that after I plug them in and configure VLANs. So I want to create, let's exit out of here, VLAN 10 and VLAN 20. Alright, so if we do a show VLAN brief, we have VLAN 10 and VLAN 20. If you end this one and do a show VLAN brief, we do not have VLAN 10 and VLAN 20, but after we plug it in to this fast Ethernet 6, fast forward, now we should be able to have those VLANs. There we go. So we have VLAN 10 and VLAN 20. Okay, so now let's do the same to switch 1. It needs to be plugged into fast Ethernet 5. Fast forward. Now from here, if we end it, show VLAN brief, we have VLAN 10 and VLAN 20 because the VDP server sent those VLANs to us. And now what I want to do is configure rapid per VLAN spanning tree protocol and add this one, the primary for VLAN 20, and this one, the primary for VLAN 10. Okay, let's go ahead and do that. Config T spanning tree mode rapid per VLAN spanning tree, and now spanning tree VLAN, and then we have to give it a VLAN, which is going to be VLAN 20, and I want it to be the root, right? And I want it to be the primary. There we go. Okay, and now let's do the same on switch 3. Config T spanning tree mode rapid spanning tree VLAN 10. The root, I want it to be the primary for VLAN 10. So this one is going to be the primary for VLAN 10, and this one the primary for VLAN 20. And now let's go over here and let's go config, and this one is going to be the secondary for VLAN 20 and for VLAN 10. But first let's do the mode, then spanning tree, VLAN 10 and 20 root secondary. Okay, so this is working. So we have now configured spanning tree and VTP, and let's see what we could do next. Since we now have the VLANs, what we could do is configure those access ports, and after we do those access ports, we are going to configure portfast and bpduGuard. All right, so let's go ahead and do that. So from here, I want to do interface. Let's do a range, and the range is going to be from fast Ethernet 001 through 4. So let's configure all at the same time. Switch port, mode, access, switch port, access, VLAN, and switch 1 needs to be 20. So these all computers right here are going to be on VLAN 20. So let's go ahead and plug them in. 1, 2, 4 over here, and then 3 right here. Okay, so that's good. And let's also configure spanning tree, portfast, and let's also configure spanning tree, bpduGuard enable. So portfast, what portfast does is, since these ones are access ports, what it's going to do is going to enable those links as soon as possible. So it's not going to go through like the spanning tree protocol, try to block in, when spanning tree try to block like ports, it takes a second to make sure that they're not trunk links. So with portfast, what portfast does is it just it kind of like disabling spanning tree, and it goes straight to a active link instead of going like orange and then green and all that. And what bpduGuard does is it blocks bpdu packets, and bpdu packets are only supposed to be sent from switch to switch. So since we know that we are only going to plug in a computer here, since we're going to plug in a computer here, we don't want to plug in a switch. So if a hacker comes in and plugs in a switch, what it's going to do is going to disable this interface because bpduGuard is enabled. And when you plug in a switch, it's going to try to send a bpduGuard to the switch, and when it receives that bpduGuard, what it's going to do is going to disable that interface. Okay, and since computer do not send bpduGuard, this one is safe. Okay, this is done. Let's go to switch 3. Let's do the same interface range. And this one needs to be VLAN 10. I believe I did this one VLAN 20. Let me verify that. Yep, we did VLAN 20, so that's good. So VLAN 10, and we can just do a spanning tree, enable portfast, spanning tree, bpduGuard enable. Okay, that's good. And you're going to see that it's going to enable that interface as soon as possible. And there we go. You see how that interface did not go orange, it went straight to green because we have portfast enable. Okay, 3, and let's plug in 4. So if you plug into the number 5, what you're going to see is that this interface goes orange, and then after a while, after a couple of seconds, it goes to green. There you go. But if you plug it into number 4, it's going to green as soon as possible, because we have port fast enabled. Okay, so this is good. Let's see what else we can do. So we have configure rapid per VLAN spanning tree protocol, VTP, access ports, port fast bpduGuard. Now what we have next is to configure an ether channel. And the ether channel that we're going to configure is LACP. Okay, let's go over here, put that here, LACP. So this is good. Now let's go to this switch. Let's exit, and let's go do an interface range again, and it's going to be from fast Ethernet 10 to 12. And let's make this, see if I remember. So we have to configure channel group, and the channel we're gonna call it is gonna be 1, right? And this channel group 1 is going to be a mode, and the mode that we want to enable needs to be passive. Okay, there we go. We have created that channel, and we can just copy this since we have to configure the same for this switch. Paste that here, and now channel group, and they both need to be on the same channel group, otherwise it won't work. Channel group 1, mode, and instead of passive, we could just do active here. Okay, so since the other one is passive, you could either go, I think, passive and passive, and active and active, and they both. Now if you do passive and passive, it won't be what it's going to do is only if the other one is active. So you have to either configure active or passive and active. Okay, so since we did active and passive, they are going to form our ether channel. So let's go ahead and plug it in. 10, 11, and 12. So we have plug in 10, 11, and 12, and what this does is, let's make it this color right here. Okay, and what this does is that it groups those physical interfaces into one logical interface, which is group 1. And now what we need to do is exit, and let's do an interface channel group. Now we can call that channel group, or it's a channel group interface port channel. Sorry guys, it's port channel. So, and the one that we gave it was port channel 1. From here we can make it a switchboard mode trunk, and what this is going to do is going to configure all those physical interfaces at the same time. And then switchboard trunk allow VLAN. I want to allow VLAN 10 and 20. Okay, great. Now let's go ahead and go to the other switch and do the same. So on this side, exit, interface port channel 1, switchboard mode trunk, switchboard trunk allow VLAN 10 and 20. Okay, so this is good. Let's see what else we can configure. So we are now going to do DHCP snooping. we're not going to do that. But what TCP snooping does is it blocks DHCP packets from a DHCP server. So let's see that we only want to allow DHCP packets from fast Ethernet 5 on switch 1. What we do is enable DHCP snooping and allow only fast Ethernet 5 to be the trust interface. So that way it's going to block all the other interface, and it's only going to allow fast Ethernet 5 to allow DHCP packets, and it's going to block this channel and any other interface that is configured in this topology. Okay, so I believe this is all done for this video, and if you guys have enjoyed this video, go ahead and subscribe to my channel, hit the like button for this video, share this video with your friends and family, and also follow me on Twitter at CCNA Daily Tips. I post a lot of videos and a lot of tips there at CCNA Daily Tips on Twitter. And also, if you want more videos like this, or more topologies like this, or even troubleshoot labs, you can go to my website at ccdtt.com. So hey, thank you guys for watching, guys, and I will see you in the next one. Bye bye.